What's going on, everybody? We're back for another Acceptable Casualties battle report. We got Battlegroup today, 400 points, brother against brother. Joe and Vin back at it again. We're going to be doing Late War, Fall of the Reich. We ended up using the Fall of Silo scenario out of the Fall of the Reich book, but we made a couple little modifications to it. We'll get to that during deployment. So we'll be back in a second to go over the lists. All right, everybody, here we have Vin's 350 points of Germans that will be defending in this scenario. Over here, we have Vin's forward HQ with half track. We have wire team. Vin brought a platoon of Volkstrom. The MG34s have been upgraded to MG42s in the back. Vin, what did you get these guys Fausts?
No Fausts.
No Fausts, okay. He also brought a Pack 40 as one of his support, a platoon of 3 Stugs, and then Vin brought the Flammwagen, the flamethrower and half track. So we'll see how that shakes out today. That should be pretty fun if we get in the buildings. Yeah. So, all right, that's 350 points of Vin's Germans. We'll be back in a second to go over the Reds. All right, so here we have 400 points of my Soviets. It is a motor rifle platoon is what I ended up bringing. So here we have the forward HQ on foot there, and they have the Gaz Jeep with them. Over here we have our motor rifle platoon. We ended up taking the Maxim machine gun and the 45mm with Gaz truck for our support choices. For our tanks, we took 3 T-34-85s. We also ended up taking two 82mm mortar battery, a sniper, and then we also took a Maxim quad machine gun. My battle rating is 27. For those of you wondering, Vin's battle rating was a 23, and I forgot to mention it as well. We both have off-table assets. I have a 122mm howitzer barrage, and then Vin has a
counter battery.
You have a counter battery and a mortar barrage as well. It's timed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything off table is pretty much timed except for the counter battery. So we'll be back in a second to go over our deployment. All right, everybody, we are back for deployment. So how Vin and I ended up setting up this scenario is Vin was able to deploy 2d6 units on the table. He ended up getting a 7. We have to come on the table from my table edge over here. Starting turn 1, I put down as the sniper, and that's it. Vin was also able to put 5 guys in ambush. The objectives to start the game is going to be the fountain in the courtyard is going to be the first objective, and the second objective is going to be the farmhouse right there. You can see it kind of marked with that brown marker right there. So starting from over here, Vin has one of his MG42 teams from the platoon up in the second floor of that window on ambush fire, and then there's the rifle section down there below. Right here next to them along this building, you have the Pack 40, who is also an ambush fire. Down the middle of the road, you have one of Vin's Stugs that are on the table. And then in these houses right here, you have 2 of the MG42s, right? MG42, yeah, 2 of the MG42 teams, 1 in each of the buildings, and then behind them is the platoon command right there. Still off table in reserve. You got Vin's Flame Wagon, 2 Stugs, 2 more of the rifle teams, the command with the half track, and then the wire team. So that's what's left right here. I'll come back in a second for the top of turn 1. I'll be back in a flash. So we are here for top of turn 1 for the Soviets. I ended up getting 9 orders in total. I ended up bringing everybody on. I hadn't fired a shot. So I ended up bringing my 2 T-34s, 1 up the road here, and then 1, that was that one right there. This guy I brought up the road and then banked off going to this position. Vin ended up popping his Pack 40 ambush, and then he ended up not spotting on the first shot and then missing on the second one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that ended up happening on that one. Then after that, it was kind of smooth sailing. I really didn't have to do too much. I ended up taking my platoon command. I moved him up to the top of this hill for a better vantage point. Back over here, I ended up wheeling on my Ziz truck with the 45mm gun. And then down along in here, you can see there's 1 platoon of rifles that was brought on from the table edge, my mortar battery, and then another squad of rifles, I'm sorry. So 2 squads of rifles, mortar battery all in here, and then my sniper is up there from deployment. So that's all that happened here for the top of turn 1 for the Reds. Handing it over to Vin. The way we set it up is Vin's able to bring on his reserves starting in turn 1 as just part of his orders, however they end up falling. So we'll be back in a second for Germans, bottom of turn 1. So we are back for bottom of turn 1. Vin ended up getting 11 orders, but I think you were only able to use 9, right? That's what you said? Just as far as bringing everybody on from reserve and then only having minimal targets to even fire at, which there was no shots fired. So what Vin ended up doing was he brought on one of his Stugs with a rifle team up the road right here. Wire team came in along the backside of the building over here. The command half track, as you can see, is tucked behind the hotel. The Stug that was in the little crossroad section right there ended up rolling up and then throwing it in reverse to open up an angle going down that side of the road right there. Vin put the Pac 40 back in ambush. He rolled up another one of the Stugs from reserve to this position. Rifle team is supporting them, and then up over there, the flame wagon, Vin ended up rolling up this road full speed, and then used a remainder of his 12-inch move on the second part of his order to push up along the side over there. Anything else? Oh yeah, and then Vin also put these rifle team right here in ambush fire. So that's all that happened here for turn 2. Like I said, bottom of turn 1, pretty quiet so far. Hopefully the action will start picking up now that we're all starting to get in position. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 2. We are back for the top of turn 2 for the Soviets. On this turn, I ended up getting, 11 for orders? Brought on a bunch of reserves, did a lot of shooting, and not a lot of results. So we ended up doing, first off, was we dropped a mortar right over here. I ended up drifting over to here. I passed my comms check. I ended up having to roll 4 dice for the scatter. It ended up putting me here with like a 12-inch total. I ended up rolling from the 282 millimeters. I got 1 direct hit, 1 pinning attempt. The pinning attempt failed, but the direct hit ended up hitting side armor on the Stug. Unfortunately, I rolled an 8 and I needed a 9 to do any damage on him, so he is still fine. Just a couple of near hits on that guy. The 45 mil that is down there fired a bunch of HE rounds into the pack. Didn't I?
You rolled 6 dice and didn't get over 5.
Yeah. I ended up hitting him twice with the indirect fire with the HE, and then I didn't get 1 hit. I ended up rolling like a bunch of 1s, 2s, and 3s. So Vin's Pac 40 ended up surviving over there. Down on this road, I brought in the Gaz truck, the Quad Max, and parked them in the middle of the road here. I also have an infantry squad and another infantry squad that came off table from this area to help support the tanks. Both of the tanks over here, they ended up firing a whole bunch of machine gun fire into these guys to try to pin them. And I think I only had 1 get through, and Vin ended up making his 4-up save, so that unit ended up being okay from the machine gun fire for pinning. Back over here in this corner, we ended up taking this rifle squad and pulled them out of the woods and moved them up to push ahead, and then the rifle squad over here, we did the same thing. We pushed them up from their position here to get a little bit further up in the forest, and that's kind of what we're looking at for the second turn for the Soviets. We'll be back in a flash for the bottom of turn 2 for the Germans. We are back for bottom of turn 2. Vin got a little aggressive there with the Stugs. What'd you have, like 9 orders or something like that? But
yeah,
played aggressive with the tanks and then kind of laid low with the rest of everybody else. So to start the turn off, Vin had that Stug back over here. He ended up pushing 1 up over to those trees, that little wooded area, to kind of cover this part of the road so none of those T-34s can break out. He took the Stug that was here, he ended up moving him up to get a better shot, fired 1 down range, no dice on the T-34, and the Stug that was here, Vin got super aggressive, rolled up to the courtyard, ended up trying to launch a shot into the T-34 and then whiffed on that. So I kind of dodged a bullet there down the middle of the road on this. The infantry squad that was supporting Vin over here with that Stug ended up pushing up in between the buildings. The wire team jumped into the 2nd floor up over here. The command team left the half track and is making their way into the hotel on this side. Up over here, Vin pushed up that 1 infantry squad that was down over here. Penis Road, and then to the back of the building right there. And then the flame wagon or flame track just got repositioned a little bit further up on that side as well. So some moving, shoring up the defense line over here. A couple missed opportunities, but we'll see if I can actually capitalize in it. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 3 for the Soviets. We are back for the top of turn 3 for the Soviets, and this one went pretty good for us right here. So obviously the top of the turn, we ended up trying to drop another mortar bombardment over here. It ended up drifting just a little bit. I got 3 infantry teams in there, but I rolled horribly for the pins and the damage. It just wasn't a very good, very good dice roll for that. But the 2 T-34s over here were able to fire. I was going to fire 2 shots at each of the targets down here, but I only needed 1. So this tank, the Stug right here, got blown up by that T-34 right there. First shot, ended up taking him out. And then this guy, he fired his first shot down range, was able to blow up this Stug as well. So that was a pretty big pull for that one right there. I ended up bringing on my command T-34 and pushed him up from the table edge from reserve to this point. And then I ended up supporting him with the infantry right there. The 45 is in ambush, kind of guarding this alleyway going here. Back up over here. Things didn't go too good. I ended up moving my rifle squad up to that point right there. We fired down on Vin's infantry squad. Didn't do anything. He ended up making a save. Then he fired back with his ambush fire. Ended up ripping off 4 of the 8 guys right there. But I ended up passing my morale, so we're still looking okay. Over here, the sniper, I ended up firing down here. I biffed on these guys, but I did hit the machine gun up there, but Vin ended up making a save there as well. Nothing else of note really happened. The rifle team that's here moved up 10 inches. I'm all out of orders. I think the only thing I have left off table is my commander. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Top of turn 3, going into bottom of turn 3 for the Jerrys. Let's see what Vin got up his sleeve. We'll be back in a flash. We are back for the bottom of turn 3. A little bit of self-inflicted punishment here. So
Just a little bit.
Vin had his timed barrage landing right here in the woods at the beginning of the turn. He was expecting my guys to be pushed up a little bit further, but what ended up happening was that scattered back over to here. Luckily for Vin, he rolled extremely well just to see what the damage was going to be, but rolled extremely poorly for dishing out the damage. He had 2 direct hits on the Stug and 3 pin attempts, and 1 direct hit and 2 pin attempts on the Pack 40. No damage here, and he only ended up pinning the Stug in the process. So, I guess that was good. And then, the rifle teams that were over here, they threw some small arms fire down there and ended up cleaning up the remainder of that that rifle team over there and knocked them off the table. Is there a guy? No, there's nobody left over there. And then there was also a little bit of small arms fire at the sniper, but they failed to pick up on that. Vin also used his 1 machine gun team here in the White House to fire down on this rifle team right there, but failed to connect on anything with that. And then I think the only thing that else happened besides that was Vin pulled the shit to unpin that Stug at the end of his turn, and he moved that rifle team from this point up until over there. So that's what we're looking at right now, going into the top of turn 4.
There's a lot of 1s and 2s.
Sostalinas! We're going, man. We're making the push. Top of turn 4. We'll be back in a flash. We are back for the top of turn 4 for the Soviets. We brought a lot of thunder on this one. God of War ended up coming out. So we had our timed 122 barrage. We had it placed here. It ended up drifting down to this point right here. As you can see, Vin's platoon command unit up there got absolutely shredded, and then they ended up breaking off the table. I think we had like 1 guy left out of the 6.
Yeah.
Something like that. It was like 1 or 2 guys. And then they broke with morale. Command ended up getting pinned, and then I had a bunch of pinning tests all around, but Vin was actually pretty good on his saves versus the pin stuff, so they ended up doing pretty well, but like I said, we ended up getting a casualty right here. Then we ended up dropping our regular 82mm mortar barrage to this point over there. It was enough to actually kill 2 guys on the... Oh, no, we didn't get anybody on the Pack 40, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't get anybody on the Pack 40. That's from something different. We had a pin attempt and failed on that. And then up here we had a direct hit and a pin on the MG42 team in the top building there, but Vin once again was pretty good with his saves and didn't do any damage on that. The push that you notice happening right over here, we had this T-34 move up from that position, fired a shot down, hit the Stug in the side and blew him up. The T-34 here just kind of fired machine gun fire into this window. We didn't do any casualties there. The Gaz truck, since he survived that PaK-40, we ended up firing the quad guns down here. We did 2 casualties there and pinned them. We pinned them on the first one with 1 death. And then the second one, we were able to kill a second guy. Vin has like 1 guy left on the PaK-40 over there. We ended up firing with the sniper downrange over here. Failed to do anything with that. The infantry, we ended up pushing up all the squads. As you can see, the squads that are left, we pushed them up ahead right there. I ended up putting the T-34 command in ambush to kind of watch for that flame wagon, and the 45 is still also in ambush right there. So we're going to Vin, bottom of turn 4. The Jerry's, I don't know what they got left to answer here, but we'll see how it plays out. Be back in a flash. Bottom of turn 4. We are back for bottom of turn 4, right? That's where we're at?
Yep.
Yep, bottom 4. A lot of small arms fire here. Vin ended up unpinning some of his guys at the end of the turn, but we'll get to that in a second. So Vin ended up moving his flame wagon between machine gun fire from here. They were able to strip off 3 guys there. I kind of got lucky on that. Also some small arms fire from the machine gun and the rifle teams over here. They were able to take a couple guys off of this squad and kill the sniper team down there. Thankfully, you don't got to pull out shit for snipers, so that was all right. That's kind of what happened down there. Vin did pull, like I said, a shit at the end to help out that PaK-40, and then his commander is now alive and well. So that's what we're looking at right now at the bottom of the turn. Be going into top of turn 5 for the Reds. Push, 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 push. So we're going to keep pushing. So we'll be back in a second. Top turn 5. We are back for the top of turn 5. Pretty good results, and then some whiffs as well. So this turn, we ended up biffing on our comms test to drop the mortar bombardment down there. Vin's flame wagon that was parked in here, we pushed up these guys to try to pin. They ended up failing that. Between this T-34 and this T-34 over here, we fired into there. Ended up just whiffing 4 AP rounds through the trees. Nothing ended up hitting there. We ended up killing the PaK-40 and the rifle team here. One of the chits Vin pulled was an immobilized. That was a breakdown. They ended up immobilizing the T-34 over here, but we did kill 2 units there. And then at the end of the turn, we moved one of our rifle teams from here up into this house. We fired down and we were able to kill one of the MG teams to a man down there, which forced Vin to pull a shit, and he ended up breaking. So it ends up being a turn 5 victory for the Reds. We'll be back in a second to kind of go over our end of game recap and then kind of talk a little shop on how the game went and what our strategies were. So we'll be back in a flash. All right, so we're back for our end of game recap here. Like I said, I think I had 27 battle rating. I only had to pull 1 chit, so I was down to 23. And then Vin, he had a pretty decent pile of chits.
6.
It was 6. It was 6 altogether.
Yeah,
and then you had the breakdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the breakdown one. So that's Vin had 23 battle rating score. He got taken down to 0. So I guess I'll talk about my plan first, and then we'll hand it over to Vin. So what I was thinking for the attack. I wanted to take those 2 T-34s supported with the Gaz machine gun and 1 rifle squad and push them up the road over here and kind of hold this section along the side of the square just to kind of give tank fire to Vin's Stugs and try to hold these guys locked down in this corner and keep them honest as I took the main part of my infantry platoon, which was 3 rifle squads, with the sniper support and then 45 mil, and push them up this side of the table with the command T-34-85 and try to take this section here and then eventually push onto that house there. And then hopefully, if I was able to take that objective, then wheel back in over here and try to make a move on this after that bombardment ended up hitting. And then obviously use the mortars in this area to try to wither that defense down and maybe try to drift over here and get a couple wounds if there was anything in these houses. It worked out pretty well. I think what played into my favor early, as far as how everything went, was Vin's mad dash with those Stugs. Like if that would have went off, it would have stymied everything I had. Luckily, he completely biffed with this Stug, that Stug, and the Pack 40. I mean, they weren't able to hit anything. And then the first turn that I was able to answer back, I mean, I was able to take out the 2 Stugs, and then I was able to keep the pressure on that Pack 40 that was stationed over here. Which kind of once all that was out of the picture, it was kind of tough to. I think have an answer for the amount of armor that was coming up the road, especially when I still had that T-34 and that 45 mil holding their flank inside this alley right here. Moving that Stug over from that position, even to get a close shot, Vin would have had to expose himself one way or the other. And then, of course, the self-induced pin was
that was painful.
was pretty helpful as well, because it gave me another turn to kind of get this guy in the position here. And get things rolling. But like I said, overall, the battle plan felt like it worked out pretty good. But I think a lot of it came down to that Stug gamble early working 100% in my favor. Even though I think if it would have went off, it would have definitely changed the tide of the battle on this side of the table. I probably would have had to play a little more conservative over there. But I don't know, Vin, what were you thinking as far as your defense and how you wanted to either hem me in or hold me out?
I was actually going for the more aggressive defense. So my whole goal was with the Stugs to push actually over to here, which is why I gambled bringing them out early game. So the plan was to get this section over to this section and to have these guys essentially crossing these 2 areas, which would have put you pinned in the middle, which is what the whole point of that
Mortar barrage
would have been, which...
Well, you got to think.
Either way.
It was only a turn off. I feel like if you wouldn't have pushed the Stug up there, I might have been more aggressive and made a push for that.
Yeah.
But the minute the Stug went there, I was like, I don't want to get that close in there because my rifle teams. I needed 6s to pin those guys. I didn't have grenades, so I needed 6s to pin them within 10 inches. It would have been a really risky proposition to push my infantry up that aggressively to that part with the Stug just parked right there.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, I realized that mistake afterwards, because my whole goal with the guy that I bought up here, like this specific tank, was to keep him here and then wait for that to go well. But when it went really bad is when I decided to bring him up to support, but that didn't work out very well. So I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, I don't have anything here. So the original plan for him was to start here and eventually end up in this area right here. So I would have had pretty much this entire
hemmed in around that little middle.
Yeah, I just kind of
like forest there.
Played it out like the holdout game, like to make, because you would have been the one that would have been the aggressor at that point.
Yeah, try to break out. So. Yeah, like I said, it was a pretty good game. It's good to be back. We felt a little bit rusty playing it. We probably messed up on a couple little things, but I felt like we did most of it right. But then again,
it's still fun. Even though I got completely.
That's why we do the rolls off camera, so you guys can't bash us for the for the rules mistakes and any other crap that goes on. But like I said, overall it was a good game. It was a fun game. I'm gonna try to get back into the swing of things for Battlegroup. Just so you guys know, I do usually say it a lot in the past year, but I haven't been following through. But I did go out. I ordered a bunch of new buildings. I ordered a whole bunch new tanks for my Soviets and for my Germans, because we're going to try to open up and get in a little bit of mid-war curse, because I just got that book as well. So really opened up all the Eastern Front options. We're going to start playing a little bit to some city fight stuff. I want to do maybe jump into Odessa again or Sevastopol, and then eventually get into Stalingrad and some of the things like that. I'm probably playing on a 3x3 or 4x4 city fight table. Once I kind of get everything lined up, how we're going to do it. So we're going to kind of hem it in a little bit tighter and try to get the action-packed game instead of more of a chess match, and try to get some more casualties out on the table and make it a little more interesting.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to bring up see if anybody would be interested in the Winter War.
Oh yeah, you want to do Finns and Soviets?
Yeah, Finns versus Soviets.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out a project to do either a new table and 2 new armies. I think we're leaning at Winter War right now, but yeah, we're kind of open up to anything. So if you guys got any other good ideas, filter them through in the comment section or just send me a message or something like that. But like I said, it was a blast. Soviets ahead today. We'll come back. Hopefully, we'll do another one soon. Get back on track. Maybe do like one every couple weeks. To keep feeding the beast. So we'll catch you guys later, and thanks for watching.